shoot a video, making it and it go. This on the stage, you're making it and it go. On the go, on the go, making it and it go. On the go, on the go, making it and it go. Sometimes that's how it go. When you pick up the flow, they just make it up as it go. On the go, on the go, on the go.
Nothing else sounds as good as
WEFM, the clean, fresh sound.
WhatsApp or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
Wait, first of all, you all hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm not hearing anything. I'm not hearing.
All right. It is 8:22 and we are back here with you about to have our next talk segment right here on the Clean Fresh Sound of 99.9. In studio, you have myself, Dianna, and Roleza, and joining us via the live is Dr. Gerald Thompson. Well, now,
hi, Doc, are you hearing us? Sorry, Dianna.
Mm-hmm.
Doc, you hearing us? All right. So, Doc, maybe go out and come back in. Okay.
All right. All right. So, I know we've been talking a lot about Donald Trump this morning. I promise you that we did not plan it. It just, the talk just came up earlier, and we branched off into our discussion. This time we are, unfortunately, we're going to be, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but we're going to be talking about Trump again. Trump is the talk of the town at the moment. One of his most recent, well, all of his things are recent, but one of the other things that he's done is to pull the Center for Disease Control from the World Health Organization. So he, let me get the correct the article for you. So we will be looking into that discussion. U.S. public health officials have been told to stop working with the World Health Organization effective immediately. The U.S. Center for Disease Control, the CDC, sent a memo to senior leaders at the agency telling them that all agency staff who work with the World Health Organization must immediately stop their collaborations and await further guidance. Now, the Center for Disease Control is 1 minute. Right. So the Center for Disease Control is the leading data-driven public health service organization in the United States and the largest government agency worldwide working in disease control and prevention. It generates strategic information and puts science and advanced technology into action to protect the public's health, safety, and security. It works in more than 60 countries, collaborating with ministries of health and other partners to prevent diseases, build resilience to emergencies, and respond quickly where outbreaks occur. Its headquarters is located in America and it also has experts throughout. So the headquarters is in America, but it has experts across the world. And Trump, has thus ordered his CDC workers to stop working with the World Health Organization. We mentioned a while back that he pulled America from the World Health Organization. So seeing the, I would say, the importance of the Center for Disease Control and the work that has been done, we're going to look into what does it now mean for the world at large, but especially us here in the Caribbean, because this is where we live, right? So especially for us here in the Caribbean and the world at large, what does it mean now that the CDC is no longer going to be working with the World Health Organization? Of course, Dr. Thompson is a medical doctor, and he has a lot of titles. He is involved in a lot of things. I wouldn't name all of them out, but he is our expert here, our medical expert here to talk to us on this topic. What does this mean for us out here in the world? Dr. Thompson, you're hearing us clearly? Everything coming through?
Absolutely, yes.
Wonderful.
Now, I want to just...
Good morning to you.
Can you hear me? Yes. A pleasant morning to everyone. Let me just make a few corrections.
Okay.
Now, the World Health Organization, did you say the headquarters was in
For
the
CDC,
United
the CDC headquarters.
No, the CDC headquarters. Now, almost different countries. China has their own CDC. Canada has their own CDC. Europe has some form of CDC. So the Center for Disease Control is a US-based organization for the United States. It's not an organization, that's what it is. And CDC is located in Atlanta, and the National Institute of Health is located in Maryland. I must say, during my training, I had a small attachment to both of those entities. Good memories in the late 90s as part of my infectious disease rotation. But let me say that this is not the first time that Donald Trump has removed himself from the World Health Organization. You should recall in the last year of the Trump administration in 2020, the Trump administration removed itself from the WHO and stopped payment. It wrote them and said, we're removing ourselves. But within 6 months of the Biden administration reinstated its connection with the World Health Organization. Now, it is not surprising that Donald Trump has removed himself on, let's say, the first few days of his administration. As a matter of fact, in May, he forecasted that he was going to remove the United States from the WHO. And what is going to take place is quite serious. As a infectious disease specialist, let me tell you, diseases are peculiar to different parts of the world. A lot of our flus do originate in the Southeast Asia, China area. But there are many diseases in Africa, in South America, and even in the United States itself, And a global monitoring of diseases is important. For us in the Caribbean, we tend to get these global diseases and epidemics from France coming down to Martinique and St. Martin, or through the United States. So that's the passage in terms of how flus and so reach down to the Caribbean. But with global travel, you're going to see this somewhat intensify because people are traveling all over the world. Cruise ships, aircrafts. We now having we're having 3 aircrafts, large aircrafts a day with people coming from different parts of the world who may be incubating a disease. And so it is critical for Caribbean health authorities, for the health authorities in South America, for the health authorities in Europe, and so, as well as the CDC and the NIH in America, to know what's going on around the world. So divorcing yourself and removal somewhat isolates you from that particular process and can be devastating, because diseases like Ebola, diseases like the ordinary flus or the more contagious fatal flus could reach your shores long before you basically know it. And if you were more aware of it, that'd be very important. So I think it's a big mistake. But what has been taking place is that the United States, Donald Trump believes that the blame of Donald Trump for not responding to the COVID pandemic has been a stain on his reputation. And so this is a day one response to that, to say it wasn't my fault. It was the World Health Organization that did not have a proper response to COVID. And that the reforms that need to take place at the World Health Organization, he's citing that America pays more money to the World Health Organization than China pays to the World Health Organization, and the Chinese population is 4 times that of the United States. So he said that's unfair, and that America's been taken for a ride. He may have a point, but his response, whether it's a bluff, removing yourself from the World Health Organization usually takes 1 year for it to basically take into effect. But Trump has done something strange. He said no funding at the same time. That's unusual. But this is the first country in the world that has removed itself from the World Health Organization. So it's sign of what there to come. But I truly believe that in another article, he says he is open to return to the World Health Organization, but if there's reforms. And what are the main reforms? He really wants that there is more equal contribution from different countries, and that he feels that China has some great kind of influence over the World Health Organization, and that he wants that removed. But the point is, with this UN organization, there is always some political input, some political overlook. One country and so
Ooh, Doc.
yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So-
You have
so-
frozen.
So I think there's a big push to get the United States in more of a position that they're able to find out more details on the origins and the how diseases are arising, because there's that view, and it may be a correct view, that COVID may have been a lab leak, but China won't necessarily be admitting about that in a way that should be, and that America wants the World Health Organization to be able to put greater pressure on certain countries to get the real reason why diseases have emerged, but at the same time, not giving information that may be necessary from the United States as well. And so there's been a big proposal from the World Health Organization for greater monitoring and surveillance of diseases, and being able to get into countries and say, you must do this, or we strongly recommend this, and you must do that. But there are a lot of countries in the world who are saying, no, that is going to be an intervention in our sovereignty, and we don't want that. So the big issue is going to be for countries that where diseases tend to arise, other countries would want them to be more open how those diseases occur, but they would not necessarily want to be more open about how diseases from their own countries would emerge, and would not want to reveal information. So America has also removed itself from what's considered an important part of World Health Organization reform, saying that countries must comply strongly and more seriously with information that is required on various diseases that are coming from those parts of the world. And I haven't gone into detail about these other diseases, but a lot of this is about the pandemic and what was the World Health Organization response to the pandemic, their influence on China. And I think Trump is making a bold move to say, we want you to basically have more investigative powers into China and other these countries, as opposed to you may not necessarily be able to have those investigative powers into us, because we are fine, we are wonderful, and we basically know what we are doing already. So I don't know if that gives a summary. It's gonna the World Health Organization funds many programs, and unfortunately, the budget, America contributes about $130 million, but in fact, because of voluntary support, and so they contribute about $1.2 billion. So the removal of all that, whether financial or in kind, up to 1.2 million, will have a devastating effect primarily on Africa, on Tahoe, on that deals with the Caribbean, South America, and we may see a surge if this continues in the way it does continue. It's a serious problem, and I hope that it gets resolved.
All right. So Dr. Thompson, I know that you have friends. You travel a lot. You've been all across the world, and in the fields that you've been in, you've met a lot of persons. Question: you have friends in the medical field in China? Do you have friends in China who are in the medical field?
No. Unfortunately, I do not. But in my recent trip to Thailand, I met a number of persons from Myanmar, from Laos, and from Cambodia. Very interesting individuals from various, but not from China, I must say.
Okay.
Because the Chinese, of course, have written a statement. As a matter of fact, the World Health Organization has written a statement where their director, Tedros, almost came to tears in saying he hopes that this matter gets resolved, and it's unfortunate that this happens. But China has said this is, in essence, China said this is stupid. And they're not in so many words, but that they basically don't have any undue influence on the World Health Organization, and they basically will continue to support the World Health Organization, but they have not really gone out and said they're going to increase their own funding. But the World Health Organization have put out a big appeal for almost a 20% increase in funding from all the different countries to meet its annual budget. And I'm not sure it's going to get that 20%.
Okay. I was looking at some of the roles of the CDC, and what I would like to know is, does the rest of the world need the CDC in America? Because you mentioned they have different CDCs across the world, different exports across the world. So with America pulling its CDC from the World Health Organization, can we rely on the other CDCs, or is there something about the American CDC that we needed in this thing?
Yes. Let me say, the Centers for Disease Control and
the internet is
all very critical, is primarily focused on the United States. I want to say that. Canada has its own CDC. Various Latin American countries that have their own CDC. But CDC is the largest, greatest funded organization geared at protecting the United States. Now, I believe the officials I've read from former directors of the CDC who said this is crazy and the United States will suffer because finding out the information from its network of CDC sub-offices in other countries is providing early information to the United States on what is going on with diseases around the world, and not getting that information, ignoring the information. If I didn't get a word from the traffic people about a road that's blocked, and I continue on the road, I'll be stuck on that road. If I didn't have air traffic control in St. Vincent, planes would crash. See, the World Health Organization serves as the international air traffic control for diseases coming in from other countries, because a lot of diseases coming in by air these days. They're still coming by boat, they come in, but the personnel, that's why we got to do. So the CDC is going to be worse off, but they have to comply with the executive order of Trump for now. And they're giving him really full support. But I believe that you will see within the next couple of months, as we start seeing more and more flu. You heard us talk about the human pneumovirus and so forth. That information is needed. You need that. And CDC's disengagement is going to be as big a blow for the United States as it would be for other countries in this region and other parts of the world.
Right. All right. All right. So America just basically made it worse for themselves.
You know, Trump. You know, Roleza, imagine somebody who's been criticizing you and hitting you for a long time, and then let's say an opposition who in party who gets into office. Very often, the first thing they do is they take a backlash. They attack people who were attacking them. You understand? So Trump feels one of his failings was the pandemic, and he's trying to rewrite that history because he handled it badly. It's true, but he is going to say now it wasn't me, it was China, it was the World Health Organization, and this is what this is all about. So on day one, he is basically looking to redress the issue so as to shift things away, but he is making more or less the same sort of mistake if any other disease were to now surge and have an increase. They will again going back to blaming him that because of his actions, they allow these diseases to come into United States or to spread to other parts of the world. Because for sure, with travel to New York, JFK, travel to Washington, travel to Miami, travel to California, these diseases often will come through the United States before they reach the Caribbean. I expect within the next 2-3 months, you will see elements of this going forward. So it's a matter of the Trumponian ego, whether he basically wins the day and shifts the blame of the pandemic back to that of China and the World Health Organization, or whether it's going to cause some new issue to arise.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Dr. Thompson.
It's always my pleasure. It's always my pleasure. You know, it's always my pleasure, Tata. And let me reiterate, I wish I knew some folks in China. I mean, you know, I know some people. I know people at the CDC. I know people at NIH. I know people in Paho and around the Caribbean. But that's the limitation of my own perception. I mean, it's true. I am. Let me say, make an announcement. I'm hoping to be going to Austria, Vienna, in the middle of March for the World Organization on Drugs. I'm supposed to be delivering a lecture there at that time, and I'm going to find out a lot more about this. I'm going to get a lot of feedback from UNODC on the UN and how they're feeling, and so. But it's a sad day in global health, and even though the World Health Organization does have to change up some of its ways, I think it's been doing a fairly decent job so far.
All right, then. So your goal for 2025 could be to make some friends in your medical field in China.
Yeah, I want you to make friends there too. You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Online, some online friends. Go out, put out to say, I want friends from China. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. That might sound suspicious, man. How is it say I just want friends from China?
That's what we do it today. You know? Roleza knows how that's done. We gotta do that.
Networking, man. It's called networking.
Thank you very much.
Then.
All right,
So thank you very much for joining us and giving us your giving us your export thoughts there. Thank you very much. Bye, Dr. Thompson. And with that, we are going to head out of our talk segment, and you will hear more from us as the morning goes on. All right.
99.9